copies of oil and gas information quantities, which will attract foreign investments, generate revenues for government. And then recently also in 2023, January, NNPC, Nigerian National Company Limited, announced discovery of oil in Nasarawa State in the Bida Basin. That's actually for the case. It's a really big good success for us in Nigeria to have so much success of oil production and the exploration success in the inner basin, the northern parts of the country. So today is going to be a very interesting one. It's a pointer to the exploration activities that we done in the Bida Basin. My name is James Ajayi, PhD, and I'm the chapter coordinator of Abuja NAPI. I want to welcome you all to this interesting outing. It's a second meeting. You're all welcome. On behalf of the executive of NAPI Abuja chapter, I want to welcome you all. It's going to be an educative section, an exciting one. Further, I would like to introduce the chairman of this meeting today, the president of Mr. Taka, Alex Taka. Is there with us? He's going to be the first. Mr. Alex Taka is 42nd president of NAPI and is a thorough oil big man committed to efficient exploration and protection of petroleum, a strong advocate for improvement of geosciences education in Nigeria University. Sataka is an old boy of the prestigious Barora College area, and also is an alumna of AB Zaria. It's a pleasure to introduce him, Mr. Sataka. Please come to the podium. The chairman experienced them. Thank you so much. But I'd like to introduce him. Please come, sir. Space. I'm so sorry. Brian, please come.
Please, a round of applause for Okay, my name is Brian. I'm the Chancellor Secretary. I'm honored to be here, standing to do this. Okay, before I do, please can we offer forms, put them on silence, so how thank you. Our own Alex Taka FNAPI has already been introduced. Good to say this, that people will look at as mentors. I also want to introduce the president himself, President Eloise is online. Please, we need to know that our president is online. Okay, please get around. We also have Abdullahi Omar, FNAPI. Please. It will also interest you to know that our immediate past chapter coordinator, Mr. Ahim Baze, is FNAPI right here with us. All right, enough of those introductions. As people come in, we'll keep on introducing them. Now, the main thing for the day, our guest speaker. This is what I'm here to do. Dr. Adamu A. Suleiman began his career as a field seismologist at Integrated Data Services Limited. He moved on to become an interpretation geologist at the Reservoir Engineering and Services Department. A project leader, 3D land data processing at the Integrated Data Services Division of NNPC, Nigerian National Petroleum Company. Before rising to his current position as the deputy manager at NNPC, he has over 15 years of working experience. Dr. Suleiman holds a BSc in geology, where he was the best graduating student from the Faculty of Science, and an MSc in petroleum geosciences from the University of Manchester, where he was honored with the Earth Science and Engineering Department, SEAS, Award for Excellence, and a PhD in petroleum geology from Imperial College, London. He additionally acquired an MBA, Masters of Business Administration, from the University of Bradford. It sounds like a book. So let's keep going. Dr. Suleiman participated in the successful commercial hydrocarbon recovery in Angola sub-basin, and he is currently overseeing the integrated field development of the Soleimani assets at NNPC Exploration and Production Limited. He is also an active participant in the Nigerian frontier exploration campaigns. Dr. Suleiman is an active member of several professional bodies, including American Association of Petroleum Geologists, AAPG, Geological Society of London, GSL, European Association of Geoscientists and Engineers, EAGE, American Geophysical Union and Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists. Talking about NAPA here, just in case you're confused what that is. Dr. Suleiman is a publisher and several research papers and journals. Please, may you welcome Dr. Suleiman to the podium as he takes through today's paper. Please take up your pen and paper, and please welcome Dr. Suleiman. So, my industry managers go on GM, years, go on GM, China Basin exploration, college managers, events, they are present. NEPL officials and members, and colleagues online. All of you, good morning, and you are welcome to this presentation titled New Insight into Bida Basin Tectono-Stratigraphic Architecture. I am standing here representing a whole team, subsurface team that took hours to study a recent data across this Bida Basin. Okay, so that name is just a representative of the entire team. So let's go through what you are seeing at the front page image. Tells everything about what we are going to see today. FTG, full tensor gravity gradiometry as a background here, and 2D seismic data here. So 70% of the presentation data set is of that FTG, and then the remaining 40% is of the physical 2D seismic data. And we are going to see how much new insights we start to start from these data sets. Next slide. Okay, so that background just so kind of mathematic base in one of the Nigerian fictitious bases which are not today. The top outline. So this is a top outline. We are going to see the new data set interpretation, the 2D, the FTP itself, and then look at the new insight as related to structural architecture of the basin and stratigraphy. Then today I'm going to reveal to you a new model, Tectono-Stratigraphic model of Bida Basin evolution. And finally, we will conclude on the next level about the implication of the new insight on the hydrocarbon potential of Bida Basin. Okay. So let's start. So here, I'm going to show you. So let's have a trip to the Bida Basin itself. Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. I need to control this. It's not playing. It's a video. Number of them. It's plain. It's because of the pointer. You can't point and do the video.
Okay, so that is it. The bigger reason, so that is stretching from the middle fields in the direction and orientation of northwest southeast in there. So largely, by essence, from that edge to that edge of the marked area is up to 150 kilometers. In terms of width from this marked area, it's about 100 to 150 kilometers. Next slide. So let's see the units we have in here from the southern parts of the Bida Basin is where we have the continental deposits that we largely call as Lokoja Formation. You can see it's slightly outcrop at the fringes of the marked area in here. We have the United Formation that is slightly outcrop across, and then we have what the tip end, the Bida Formation, representing the continental deposit of the Bida Basin at the northern section. Okay, so now I want you to look at this image and the next incoming image. Now, two things to take from here. These continental deposits, the overlaying rapid to shallow depth marine deposit and the continental to shallow marine deposit are all, look at the age, we are dealing with the component massification stratigraphic units. Now, they are sitting right on the basement complex. Okay, so in here, what we are seeing are basically two key stratigraphic units. And in terms of the outcrop, their own nature is an outcrop mapping. They are tabular and laterally placed. So they are not tectonically deformed. They sit in, you can see laterally extensive in here. Okay, so there isn't any deformation. We have all of these marked units. These are the documented units known in the literature as the key formation across Bida Basin. Okay. So what we are going to see is we have identified within this FTG data and the recent 2D seismic that we have applied another fixation, which is tectonically and highly deformed. And you can see clearly from the seismic data how this is separated from this laterally flatter formation units here that naturally outcrop across the Bida Basin. Let's go to the next. Now, to see this data set, it's good for us to understand the level of exploration maturity of the Bida Basin. Now, this is our workflow. We normally start with what we call a regional scale, start with using FTG or EFTG, which is an advanced technology of the FTG to map the entire sedimentation basin. Hundreds and hundreds of square kilometers. What the aim is to be able to delineate the most prospective regions within that basin for us to deploy more expensive data. Right? Now, if you look in here, we have FTG that will enable us to delineate the most prospective region within that Bida Basin. Looking at Bida Basin, for example, if we are able to identify these high prospective areas, we can apply our circuit in, and sometimes we even bring boreholes to collect samples. The next thing is to apply 2D seismic data across these highly prospective regions within that Bida Basin. So for Bida Basin, so we are at this stage. So the only data set we have is the FTP data and the 2D seismic. Now, because the FTP is so important in this presentation, I want to show you a brief clip that shows how FTP data is applied, processed, and interpreted. Okay? I want you to take two things out of that video, please. That is how FTP is able to delineate the geometry of a given basin and define its structural fabric.
Only two things, and that is what makes the activity data data. I do this moment. We can see after the extension of the data growth, it's revealing and to find the structural fabric of that image. See the improvement in this image. Right. So you can see in here, this is where it all started with conventional gravity. But as we proceed through, you can see how the FTP was able to reveal the structural fabric of this page. And that is why it was going. So we go next to see the Nigerian application. So here we have the FTP area where we have deployed the FTP about 75,000 line kilometers. This is a bit in our sector of discussion, but again, look at the over Sokoto Basin and Southern Chad Basin in here, up to part of the Basin. Now, if you look at the FTP data here compared to the background conventional gravity, you can see how much that FTP is able to reveal in terms of the structural fabric of the Bida Basin. And you can even confidently correlate it with what we can see in the Sokoto Basin, especially in terms of the structural orientation. And this is what FTP data will reveal. We are the first company to deploy this technology in Nigeria, right? To explore the hydrothermal potential of the point areas. So let's move now into the Bida Basin. This is the FTP data. Now, the reddish to yellowish color represent high gravity and shallow basins. Okay, and the blue color here represents area of low gravity, and that is the area where you have maximum sedimentary accumulation. Now, if you look carefully in here, you can see what looks like mini basins. We have one here prolonged, and we have another one here, and the next one. So let's see how much of these mini basins can we identify from the FTP. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now for this presentation, we are going to focus on this 1, 2, 3, 4 mini basins across the basin to see some new insight for the structural fabric of Bida Basin and even the city ground. For these two here, you can see I put a question mark, because when we acquire seismic data for these two supposedly mini basins, they are actually not mini basins, they present basement variety and even some artifacts. So as you use FTP data, you have to be focused and careful of what you are really looking at. Okay. Now we have the FTP. Remember, at this stage, we didn't have any 2D seismic coverage. No 2D seismic data acquired. So we use this, having identified these mini basins, and they represent the most prospective regions within the Bida Basin to design our 2D sites. So here we have it. You can see all the 2D sites with 609 kilometers were designed to image and reveal the stratigraphic and the kind of sedimentary succession we have in these individuals, including what we have in here. So let's pick one. This is a major what we call line 4 that cut across along the stripe of all these mini basins. We have 3 of them. So what we expect to see, one thing about FTG, not very well, you can have a picture of what you expect to see in your typing before you even apply it. Remember, we have interpreted this as a mini basin, right? Gravity structure, for example, this will be a cost because we have a shallow basin in here, and then another gravity, then another cost, then another gravity. So this is what we're supposed to see in this 3D seismic line with northwest southeast orientation. So let's go and see what are we expecting. That's a gravity. That should be cost. That another gravity, cost gravity. So remember, how many gravities? 3, and how many costs? 2. Okay, so let's look at the seismic. Right, so here we have it. Look in here for this presentation. Now, if you look carefully, you can see a very strong acoustic impedance contrast here from reflection that we can interpret to present for basements. Okay, so don't worry about how detailed we can see of the symmetric succession above. We are going to see some other lines that can show us in detail the stratigraphic fabric within this sedimentary succession. So for this now, we interpret everything down here to present a basement. Okay, and I'm going to show you how we integrate the surface outcrop to group our interpretation and even the use of the. Now, this is the mini basin here, and don't forget we are moving from the northwest to the southeast. So from the north to the south of the Bida Basin. So that is the direction we are moving. Very simple. So we will move now. Supposedly, let's press 1.
We cannot use a pointer.
As we move from the northwest to the southeast, you can see this mini basin. Then you have a host structure here, another mini basin, a host structure, and another mini basin. So this, there isn't any interpretation at all for us to enable you to see it to yourself what we are giving you. We already have interpreted this from our FTP, and on acquiring the 2D Seismic Data, we are able to see this in a much bigger detail. So let's see the same line with interpretation already. So that pink line represents the top basements, and that at the top, the green represent what we call top rates, and we have a major application marker, which we are going to see in much detail. If we scroll from the northwest to southeast, again, it reveals the configuration of the basin. So in here, you can see the uninterpreted section and the interpreted section. So that is the gradient, first one of them. That is the second one, and that is the third one. And you can see what's separated between these 2 gradients. We have a host structure, and again here we have another host structure. In terms of depths, in here, if you look toward the line axis of the time, this is about 2.3 seconds. So quite shallow. If you do direct conversion 1-to-1 between the depth and the time, you are looking at probably 2.2 kilometers. Quite shallow in here. So we are going to see that this shallow gravity that exists in the Bida Basin were not actually this small at the initial rating stage. We will show the reconstruction of how big these gravities used to be. So let's put the interpretation. So that's our gravity. It's 1, 2, and the third one. So these are the three, and then we have the host, the next host. All right, so just as we interpreted in the FTP data, we were able to see the number of gravities. How many were there? 3 in number. The gravity, we have the first one, the second one, and the third one, and then the 2 hosts in there. So that shows you the power of the FTP data. It helps you to place and design your 2D cycle with higher precision and even reduce the volume that you need to affect. Without the FTP, if we didn't have FTP, we estimated in our team to target speed, we would have upgraded 2,000 micrometers of 2D. But with the guidance of the FTP, we were able to keep the volume to only 600 kilometers. Okay, so let's go next. Let's look at so this is the support using the seismic velocity. You can see in here that represents very high seismic velocity, especially of the basement, which is 4,500 to 6,500 meters per second. And this is what defines that interpretation for the lower particles and basin. When you go up, the seismic velocity gets lower and slower, representing the sedimentation station. And with this, you can put the full confidence that you are dealing with the basement here, lower section, and the sedimentation station top of there. And you can see clearly, even the gravity, you have the first one, the second one, and the third one, and they are separated by a force vector. This is the first time that we are revealing at this very high resolution the structural configuration of Bida Basin to be made up of Bida basins that consists of different sections. We are going to see series with the top three section with the major amplitude configuration in that. So this is what we are able to achieve. So that velocity will be very important because when you look at the basement, you have a lot of what we call data basement reflections, but they are highly localized and non-connected. Okay, so let's go next. Let's see another line across the deep. So that is a line that cuts across our possibilities. Let's see how much. Okay, so if you look in here, well, what we can see is we have the basement. Yeah, we have the top basement with strong, conspicuous high amplitude reflection, and then followed by this flat lay succession. Now, look at our mini basement. If you come in here, you can see the reflection orientation is the difference. They are tilting. And when you come out from this, what we can call non-conformity, separating the sedimentary succession from the basement, you move in here, you have all of this reflection tilted and at angle to this surface. This is an unconformity. And what kind of unconformity are we looking at? Angular unconformity. That separates much older, never marks are revealed, Cretaceous succession within Bida Basin, and these are separated from upper Cretaceous succession. Remember, we saw an outcrop, right? Marks the Abuja formation. That is flat laying. All of them, if you look at the succession, the companion and massification, little outcrops we have around Bida Basin, they are all flat laying, and they represent the succession. Now, what the seismic is telling us, below this flat laying, the local formation, the active formation, the outer formation, all of them in the southern Bida Basin, there is another succession of lower Cretaceous age. Definitely the vastly older than the overlaying formation, right? And the presence of this unconformity means that this succession, the older succession, were structurally deformed. You can see the truncation in here. You can see the truncation. And this is a major basin boundary fault, a normal fault that actually marks the initiation of that basin. It's a major boundary fault. In here, we are going to see in much more details. This we define it as a truncated flower structure in one of the interpretations, or actually a polygonal fault that was reactivated and truncated. So we are dealing with the basin. From the basin, we move to the mini basin here, where we have older Cretaceous successions that are not out of within the Bida Basin for now. And they are overlaid by what we know the companion landscation, the continental deposit, brackish marine deposit, amplitude marine deposit above. Okay, so now we are able to show two successions defined and separated by an uncomponent. The older, lower cretaceous probably mid cretaceous and then upper cretaceous section. Now, if you show someone who has never seen a seismic data for a Bida Basin, he could tell you if he's very familiar with like chart basin, oh yes, this is exactly what we are seeing. This should be cretaceous and that should be partial. But this is different. This angular label unconformity separating the lower cretaceous from the upper cretaceous because of the basin is actually only the cretaceous. Why is separating this? We know the timing of the major compressional events. It wasn't only. Now, if you look at that event that can result in the deformation and formation of the lava structures and uplifting of the sediment after erosion, what you have a flat laying surface. And then that is how this aggregate unconformable modeling on this older, lower cretaceous section. I hope you get this later. Because this is what we are going to see be coming back to, and this is a major revealing of the kind of sections that we have within the Bida Basin and within this confined Bida Basin. Number two, all of these lower cretaceous sections are actually confined to this Bida Basin, only located within the Bida Basin. Once we move out of them, this is a Bida Basin. Once we move out, we have this basement. And you can see a clear difference in terms of seismographic flashes of the Bida Basin from the basin. You can put a difference between the two. Okay? So here we are revealing for the first time all the lower cretaceous section overlaid by what we know as upper cretaceous formation. Okay, so let's break. When we move towards the northern parts of the line, you can see other much smaller areas. So let's put in the empty. Now, this is what we are looking at. That Bida Basin, our first Bida Basin, and you can see that the falls there is marked with the full confidence. That's another advantage of the empty. You don't need to have pre-seismic volume to pick your fault volume. You can actually see the fault flow on my activity and nothing out so that it generates statistics using even how this fast and fast in seismic coverage. Okay, so let's move next. So this is when we zoom out, this is what we are able to establish. We have a foot wall here, we have a hanging wall around the main basin. This is the top basement here, that pink color, and you have what we call left cretaceous marker. Now, this marker could be the separation between the continental deposit of the Bida formation, local formation, from the overlaying, the brackish marine, or marine section. So very clear from reflections breaking between the two. And as you move from the non-conformity, separating the basement from the upper cretaceous section, if we know them, then into an angular unconformity, separating all the lower cretaceous section from the upper cretaceous. And this we see the manifestation of what we call mid cretaceous deposition. Because the uplift of this segment that caused the truncation was actually related to the major compression event of Santonian. And we see some more here manifestation of Santonian compressional events in very cases, in various of each case, we see all of them. But what they are seeing today, they are seeing a separation from upper to mid cretaceous section, from lower to mid cretaceous section, from the upper cretaceous section. Okay. Now we have major faults that are very thick skin. They connect into the basement, and you have what we call thin skin deformation faults that are only confined within the segmented units. Okay, so next. Let's now look at the velocity. Again, to support our interpretation, you can see very high velocity, 4,500 to 6,500 meters per second here, and you can see the symmetric section of activity. So this is a QC tool that will help you when you are having challenges, especially mapping out where your basement is from the mines. Okay, so let's look more into okay, so new insights. First, look at that. What we call what could be polygon reactivated polygon faults or blast fractures. And these are related to the compressional events and largely what we attribute based on what is not underestimated is Santonian compression. So we are looking at two episodes here. The initial rifting that formed this major normal fault here, the initial rifting, and then the discretization compression event of Santonian that formed this what could be the activated polygonal faults or pop-up lava. Okay, so two events here. Now, we have a mini basin, our first mini basin here, separated by the second mini basin. Now, let me tell you how big this first structure is. This is about 20 kilometers. And what I'm going to show you is, look, pay attention to this. Okay?
Yeah.
We have these reflections that are tilting toward the south, to the deep toward the south, right? Now, what we are going to see as we move out from this first mini basin to the second mini basin, we will have a complete 180 degree switch. Instead of the next sedimentary section to deep toward the south, they deep toward the north. Okay, so let's go to the next section. This is it. This is from the second mini basin. You could see the previous section, the previous section showed the deepening of the event toward the south here in this first mini basin. So as we go to the second one, you could see the switch in that deepening, complete switching in terms of that, deepening of the reflections. And what this manifests is how the basement lineaments actually control the evolution of these mini basins, their orientation and their coverage. Okay, that's number one. The second thing could be attributed to the geodynamics during the Santonian or the extension events in lower Cretaceous. That could be responsible for having that switch and change in the orientation of these mini basins. And you can see clearly there are signs of thrust faults here. These are evidence of the mid-Cretaceous compression events that resulted in the upliftment and eroding of most part of these sections. Let me mention one thing here. Right? If you look at these reflections here, defining what we call the post-ring sensation, from this green downwards, we define them as silhouette sensation. Why? Because you can see how they are thickening toward the middle fall. So these are silhouettes. In here, we have the post-rings. If you look and follow up, you could imagine how much of these silhouettes and post-ring sensation were truncated out of this mini basin. Okay? How much of them were missing at the present position? And that defines that the original size of this mini basin was much, much bigger than how it is today. Okay? What we estimated is this current mini basins represent only 1/3 of the initial size of the basins. It's only retained 1/3 of it. Why? If you actually do restoration, it will take you a huge, you have to prepare a large number, huge volume of segment to be able to fill up and reconstruct this reflection to follow a normal depositional system. Okay? So that tells us that what we are seeing today of this new basin is just a rate of what used to be a much bigger and wider mini basin. Okay? So let's go next and show more on this switching. So we are looking at the second mini basin, which has a complete switch in terms of the orientation of the gradient from south deep to north deep into this direction. So let's go next slide. Okay, so that represents that white line within this section of the next. So this is it here. The first mini basin, we have all of the reflections moving toward that direction, and in the second mini basin, they are leading toward the northern direction. So south deepening reflections and north deepening reflection. A complete switch between two mini basins which are only 20 kilometers apart. Okay, so let's see more new insights. Let's look at the faults. Okay, this is the vast normal faults, and this is coming from the fourth mini basin here. You can see what this is saying. We have our angular unconformity, but in here you can see it's deformed. It's disapposed. What's supposed to be our hanging wall has been up now, and what needs to be a footwall is standing in here. So this reverse reactivation of the major sub-basin boundary faults has two information parts. Number one is we had the initial drifting, and then we had the mixed Cretaceous compression, and then after the deposition of these late Cretaceous, what we have at the companion and mass feature, and I give reference to Bida formation and the Cathartic formation and Abuja formation, all of them, the other Cretaceous, there was reactivation of these major faults, and that's why you have this angular unconformity juxtaposed. So that shows another compressional event. The first compressional event afflicted is a resultant in the erosion, and the second one happened after the deposition of these younger flat-lying formations. Okay, so now we are building series of tectonic events that have shaped Bida Basin from the rifting to compression in Mid-Centurion, and then less Cretaceous resurfacing or reactivation of the existing structures. Okay, let's go next. Again, this we have in the second mini basin, what looks like a flower structure. You can follow up this reflection, which is marking the top series, and you could see these synthetic folds that define the flower structure. And this has the implication in terms of the petroleum system development of Bida Basin. If you look at it, this is a deformed, you can see it's an anticline, compression of the later anticline, and up to now is preserved within this mini basin. So these are some of the targets, trapping mechanisms that we could look for in the Bida Basin. And particularly, you can see this confined and located within the mini basins, which define that this mini basin are the most prospective region within Bida Basin. So that's the power structure, and as a deep insight. Now, in terms of the units, this is a top basement that we are able to map with the help of the FTT. And if you look in here, the fourth mini basin, you have these normal faults found in east. And you could see where it's located here toward the southwestern parts. And this mini basin is where we have most of the reflections that are deep toward the south. Now, as you move to the second mini basin, you can see the switch. Instead of having the normal faults here, it's now located here, okay, more toward the north. And I explained that what is responsible or could be responsible for this switch was actually the initial basement fabric, the lineament that exists before the initiation of the mini basin. And this is how it applies to all other mini basins. All the adjacent direction is toward the north, unlike the first mini basin. So let's go next. So the top series, these represent the older lower Cretaceous sections that we were able to map within the Bida Basin. You can see they are localized within the main basin. The four main basins we delineated from the FTT. You can see the first one, the second one, third one, and the fourth one. They are located nowhere outside these main basins. Why? Because we have this upper Cretaceous younger formation sitting directly on the basins. So all of these units are the older units that we are able to identify for the first time from these two seismic data, and they are localized within the main basin. Okay. So next, let's see the unconformity. The same thing with the angular unconformity. And see it here, we marked it all across, is confined to those main basins. Now, this is the left Cretaceous marker that separates the directly overlaid and conformity units and the surface that actually outcrop. This would be what separates the continental deposit from the brackish to shallow marine deposit that we are able to see normally in the outcrop. And you can see this one is obtainable across the entire Bida Basin. It's not only confined to the Bida Basin, it's not part of the lower mid cretaceous or their units. Okay. Next. Now, for the mid basins, what you can call as sub basins, I want to tell you something that is so unique. Now, if you look at the size of the first mid basin, in terms of length, you are looking at up to 87 kilometers, even. So that's the first sub basin or the mini basin. You can see the length is of up to 87 kilometers, and the depth is up to approximately 2 kilometers in here. So as we move toward the north, these mini basins are reducing in size. That's number one. And number two, the even late Cretaceous deformation magnitude increases as you move from the southern mini basin toward the northern mini basin. The next one. Next mini basin. So you can see the length has reduced as so as the width has reduced, and even the depth to basement has reduced. So we were looking at 2.1 kilometers, now it has reduced 1.5 kilometers. So these mini basins are reducing in size as you move from the southern part to the northern parts of the Bida Basin. And like I said before, two factors could be responsible. Number one was the magnitude of shortening. That's Antonian compression. It was much higher for the northern part compared to the southern part. And even in the reactivation of the normal faults, as we saw in the previous sections, there were much reactivation in terms of flow size from the upper hills and mini basins compared to what is obtainable in the lower southern mini basins. So that is mini basin 2. Next. That is sub-basin 3. And you can see, again, the depth is reducing and the length is also reduced. And the final one, for the basin, and you can see here we are just looking at a width of 7.4 kilometers. So reducing in size and shading attributed to higher mechanism of deformation and extremation of the volcanic basins as we move from the south to the north of the basin. Next. So data integration. I said before, the FTP data has helped us to use our 2D seismic much more than what is obtainable. We were able to map polygons and generate surfaces because from the FTP you could see clearly, what we have at the fault flow across, and you can map it and then use it to generate your surfaces. So next, that is a description of what we are able to achieve by integrating the FTG and 2D seismic. That fault orientation you could see even before you applied the seismic. The second thing is integrating what we have of the geophysical data with the surface outcrop. This is from the neighboring Sokoto Basin, and in here along this line, we were able to see an outcrop of the basements. And when you come and plot it on your 2D seismic, you could actually match this basement seismic stratigraphy with the outcrop, which proves that what you are seeing here is a basement. With that outcrop is a clear manifestation, and that is what will help you to constrain your interpretation with much higher confidence. So we did apply this so as to constrain that with the basic interpretation. Next, please. Again, surface outcrop and wells. And these wells, for example, they were drilled before we applied the 2D seismic data. That is not very well drilled by our professorial chair, IVD. So it's sitting actually outside this new building. So what we intend to do is for the next borehole drilling campaign is to target these new basins and see if we can drill deep enough to penetrate, especially that angular and conformity, and even have sample of this much on the lower Cretaceous section. And again, you can see from the outcrop, this is representing the upper Cretaceous, the flat laying reflections we saw, and you can see they are all tabular and flat laying. Okay, next. Again, okay, so concerning the pitfalls, if you remember, when we interpreted these mini basins, we showed these two areas as you could thought that this represent other mini basins. But when you put in again your seismic velocity, you could see that even though you have this gravity load that you could imagine to be, mini basins, when you plot them in here, they don't show you that configuration. Okay? Unlike what we saw from the other mini basins, the first and the second mini basins, we are able to see that deep curve of the subbasin. But in here, you can see everything is not there, telling you this is actually a top basement, and all these reflections you are seeing are butts into a basement reflections, define and proving presence of basement into the night. Okay, so this is how you constrain your interpretation of the frontier basement, especially where you have fixing data used the units. Now, this is the model that we developed to explain the Tectono-Stratigraphic evolution of Bida Basin. And I want you to listen to it. It's not as complicated as what we passed before. Okay? This is a simple model that explains the evolution and formation of the Bida Basin. So before then, I want you to look at the seismic data from Bida Basin 1. Okay? So this is where we have the lower Cretaceous older cetaceans that are deeply vaulted and of course uplifted and being truncated here. You have this angular unconformity, and then this is your basement, and you have these younger cetaceans of upper Cretaceous sitting on top of the basement. Okay, so this is what we are dealing with, and this is where we are going to start the reconstruction. So we will now try to restore this basin to its initial stage. So next. So this is how it started. The early rifting events, the early Cretaceous. You could see how big this mini basin used to be, right? And what we expect to have here are the lower Cretaceous cetaceans, older formations, okay? And you could see how much they cover of this mini basin. And even this part that we see as a preserved mini basin here still was linked and part of the major basin at the early rifting stage. This was the time when the mini basins start to form in lower Cretaceous. Now, what happened next? By Santonian time, that's what we interpret, that was the time when almost all of our basins on the African system were subjected to high compression events leading to tectonic inversion. Most of the basins were inverted. And that inversion actually resulted in kind of huge basin section across this originally bigger basins. You could see what has remained here. Only represent 1/4 of the initial basin size. You can see how much it has reduced because of the compression. So this we interpret to be related to Santonian inversion. So as you have this active and truncation, you will have a major angular unconformity here, and then you have the basement exposed here. Okay, so any deposition that comes will have non-conformity and then angular unconformity around the under lower Cretaceous in the mini basin. So what is the next stage? After that stage, what happened was deposition. There was a mild sagging and then deposition of what we call upper Cretaceous sensation. So if you are looking for your Bida formation, okay, we got saddle formation, nag formation, or bottom formation, we all look at them here in the Luzon Bida Basin. Local formation, plastic formation, other formation, all of them, you look at them here. They are all within this flat lane, whereas the older sections of lower Cretaceous are actually confined to this region. So we call this continuous vegetation. And that is why if you look at the picture, the age of most of those outcrops are within Campania and Abuja. We don't see the older ones because they are all kind of buried by these younger upper Cretaceous units. What is separating between the two? A major unconformity. Now, if you remember, and if you look in here, this unconformity again was deformed. Look at the gypsum position. Can you show your position for the audience online?
Yeah.
You can see that gypsum positioning here, uplifted. So that signifies reactivation. And that reactivation must have postdated the deposition of this. So we are looking at anal Cretaceous uplifts or reactivation that even in Gongola Basin, we could walk around and see Gombe sandstone standing almost even at 80 degrees because of the compression. So the late Cretaceous was associated with the reactivation of this whole time compression, and that is what we see at the next stage. So that is the reactivation. And this reactivation could have implications, two implications. Number one is if there are any form structures related to this Antonio compression, like the flower structures, and so this reactivation could result in breaching of any existing pattern. Number one. And number two, because it's uplifts, you are source rock, effective source rock, because we anticipate to have a kind of lacustrine setting at this early stage. Isolated wind basin, very big, you can have a lacustrine setting, and for Santonian, this of the global marine transgression, you can again have another marine setting. So you can have both lacustrine and marine substrate possibly in here. Remember, we don't have any information, we don't have control, nowhere to drill into these mini bases, but this is what we can infer and interpret based on analogs, based on what we know of these lower applications. So these uplifts, like I said before, will have implication on the petroleum developments of the basin. One of them is breaching of any existing form track, like the class track I showed you, that anticline could be breached by this uplift. Number one, it could result in the cooling of any effective source of that might be there. The reason is because this uplift will bring it to a shallower depths, leading it to a cooler setting, and that hydrocarbon generation. The last stage is what we have at the present. So presently, you can see how it all started with the bigger basins, with Santonian compression, followed by another sedimentation and reactivation, resulted in what we have as smaller size, almost just one part of the initial wind basin size of the Bida Basin. So this is what we are able to reconstruct as a tectono-stratigraphic evolution of Bida Basin based on the recent data we have of FTG and SUV size. Okay. So let's see some implications. The hydrocarbon, next slide. We'll go next. So the initial lifting, which we saw in that model, could create a marine and a lacustrine depositional setting. With that implication means we could have lacustrine marines within this mediums. Okay? But by mid-Cretaceous, because of that compression, these serum cessation and the phosphate within that mini basin were uplifted and of course exposed to elevation and truncated. So huge breach structures really happened toward that mid-Cretaceous. But by the NNPC, there was another series of sedimentation depositing largely continental brackish to marine deposit across, which probably could, put back the source rocks existing within the older units into the oil window, and then you can have regeneration. And the advantage of that sedimentation after the initial uplift is it could allow for any generation to charge that inversion related structures of the Santonian time. Next, so NNPC structural reactivation, that is the last phase that happened after the position. The younger units, that reactivation could result in breaching of any existing traps within this universe. Therefore, if you look at the shallow nature of it, you are looking at 2.5 to 3 kilometers only. Think about what kind of thermal gradient are you going to have to allow for hydrocarbon generation and expulsion from any perspective source of one. Okay. Secondly, if you look at the reactivation at the compound time, that could result in breaching of any existing trapping mechanism. That could tell you how much we need to be careful and very strategic in exploring the hydrocarbon potential of Bida Basin, and especially that we need to deploy, especially petroleum system modeling, to delineate what were the risks. And this is unlike in Chad Basin, then just apply it. you have to do reconstruction. You have to reconstruct these mini basins to their initial size, then model to see if there are any source or effects of how much of hydrocarbon it generates, and what could be the potential target traps, and then what happened to them at the end of Cretaceous when there was a serious reactivation of the structures that could breach all of what is formed and traps. Okay, so that's the implication of the new insights on the Bida Basin and the carbon potential. Go next. Right, what are our technologies? Right, quite technical presentation, I know, but let's just have this as our key technologies. Bida Basin Tectono-Stratigraphic evolution involves phases of rating. So the initial rating with Cretaceous inversion, truncation of most under units, and structural reactivation that forms these mini basins that contain isolated, lower to mid Cretaceous section. That's the first one. The second one is these mini basins identified within Bida Basin represent today the most prospective regions within Bida Basin. This is our second thing. And any further investigation of these mini basins should not be done alone. Okay? We have to adopt unconditional collaboration with the Nigerian actors. And even our local science company, they have a lot to contribute and ensure that we have a sustainable frontier and with carbon installation campaign. We could imagine without boots on ground by some of these researchers and the field, how could we have this output to constrain our subsurface application? Finally, we have to appreciate, wait, this is my initiative. We have to appreciate NNPC for the allocation of resources, human resource, the funding and equipment, acquiring this data set and reveal what we have seen. And in collaboration with NEPL, our civil currently has a mandate to explore the carbon potential of the Nigerian frontier basins, and it's with their permission that we are able to show this data set today for the first time to public. And thirdly, NAPI provide the platform so that we as the science community can come together to share our ideas that find scoring and gaps. But more importantly, and innovations, without the dedication of our researchers and especially the academicians who use their personal resources and time to go to these areas when there wasn't any information, boots on ground, slow and establish even the previous phases do not be possible for us in the industry space. My colleagues are present, everyone, and those online, I should say thank you for your audience today, and I will start.
I wish I could continue with this presentation, but I think about this.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm not going to try to dive into this, so just shifting gears almost immediately. I will quickly invite Alistair Ethnapic to the right table here. And also Abdullahi Umay Ethnapic. I take it here for the quick review and then the question and answer sessions. Please, can you please clap? Especially when you hear that nothing. It takes a whole lot of that attached to it. And so while we're having this presentation, we have Dr. Ijani Ryan as well. And lastly, and the first speaker will also come up here. Please. It's not big enough. Okay. Just so that you know, online there are like 50 people in attendance. So this is one of the like large, well-attended tech community we've had in Abuja chapter. Compared to the so I'm not going to bore you with those lists right now. We will do that in a day. So this is your chance to ask Dr. Suleiman, and all everyone on the team here for questions, please. If you have a question, can you raise up your hand? But before that, I will hand over the mic to Alex Tucker.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, the chapter for putting this together. It's so heartwarming. I'm humbled. I didn't know my boss was going to be here. I'm humbled to be asked to chair this event. I'm in the mood that I would love to start by saying that Doctor is one of my beloved mentors. And these are the people that encourage some of the evidences of the system. Because we know with some of them around the system will sustain purpose, so that we were able to take a part. Besides that, I thank the Abuja chapter for choosing today. Today, for those that don't know, it's a very special day among our Muslim brothers and sisters worldwide. There's no better day than discussing a very sensitive topic, such as the new insights in the Bida Basin, traffic protection. Like I've said, this project was under my leadership on our service, and I'm happy that I'm here to listen to also make some contributions. We want to start by appreciating NNPC management, just like you have said, and by the lead boss. Two of us sometimes in Denver saw this technology, the teaching. We tried to initiate it much earlier, but it couldn't easily fly because of so much involved in deploying this technology in Nigeria. At the same time, we are happy that NNPC Limited, the first to deploy this in Nigeria after over 60 years of exploration activities. To be specific, today's topic, Doctor has done justice for it. A lot of misconceptions that he clears. It's a subject matter expert. That is what the IOC is for people like this. It has been very audible. There will virtually be much summarized in what he has said because it's so clear. However, as chairman of today's event, I just want to start by saying that he started by giving us the key formations in Bida Basin. This project started the field work. Some of us were instrumental in pushing for that because I did the Lapaya for the universities, the neighborhood. I've done so much work around this, and we felt we needed to complement the effort, knowing fully well finances for challenges that limited what they could achieve. So Suleiman actually confirmed what many writers presented: the local data formation, the Nagi, Latati, Bida, Sabah, which are well known. Suleiman has made us understand the importance of FTG and then EFTG, of geochemistry, the importance of what is able to do to reduce the cost of designing of food assessment, which is where a lot of money have to start spending, a lot of human beings need to be in the field. We need to understand that once we deploy some of this, and usually as we start with normal geological mapping that all of us that have gone through the universities have the opportunity of carrying out, which will give you the maps and the source of this picture of where you are at any point in time that will guide you to any other thing. EFTG, FTG are huge cost-saving technologies. It gives you opportunity from what we have said, linear mapping, reduction in volume of given what we follow, which I have said leads to huge cost saving. We are proud as NNPC by being the ones that deploy some of these to help reduce costs. He has reminded us that the FTG results was able to identify sub-basins, if you can call them really basins, within the Bida Basin. And why was this technology necessary? Because of the vast area of coverage. Let's go to start research, have a true picture of areas that will guide further exploration activities. About 600 land kilometers we eventually covered with 2D. It will be more than that, more cost if that was not the first. We also told that from the result, the low gravity areas with indications of where the maximum deposition, which is even one of the key issues that lead us to exploration, we clearly see. They are also the most prospective areas from what they are said for hydrocarbon prospectivity. And he mentioned that moving from northwest to southeast of the basin, we should be able to see how this line of their sizes continue to reduce, which happened to be also a very significant thing we needed to take note of. It brought us to a lineup of late Cretaceous markers, followed by angular conformities, top seam rates, top basements, which are all the things we need to look out for when dealing with the Bida Basin. 4 polygons were mentioned in the past, used to be from 2-3D and thereabouts, that such could easily be built. They were the ATG and the process data. We've been told that 4 polygons could easily be built from the FTG results. It mentioned the shrinkages in sub-basins from south and north as we move based on the data available. From there, it took us to the reconstruction of the basin. But I've said Suleiman was very audible. I don't want to take too much of our time. He mentioned early Cretaceous drifting, which lacustrine shells were unexpected. Coincidentally, I'm currently the CEO of lacustrine. We took this name. That was followed by Santonian inversion, which clear indication of pressure. Then companion sedimentation, late Cretaceous uplift, and all that were part of this presentation. These are things we need to observe going forward anytime we are discussing the Bida Basin. because it's one of the figures that you are looking at. One or next, it's called this. You mentioned the implications on hydrocarbon potential, Bida Basin. This table that's expected to guide us while we NNPC is doing more work. So here, work is going on. System is not willing to pick up. The site in Nigeria, there's no company. Site NNPC, there's no company that will put it. It's a continuous process. As long as there's advancement. It gave us some take home. Basis of drifting, inversion, structural reactivation, several others that are common database. Going forward, I want to be this. Anytime we discuss database, especially for those who are here and those online listening to this very important topic. We know the terminologies to use, will not mix things up. We'll be in a better position to present this to non-geoscientists and those that are unable to attend this. So many Nigerians and colleagues that are still in doubt as to why exploration is still so aggressive on basis. We sustain this, and we believe that just like the River Basin, the Benue Trough currently being what it be. It's the same approach as technology continues. As we want to believe that this presentation will not be the day we come to sustain presentations of this nature. The brilliant presenters like Dr. That's are willing to continue to research. We should be talking about positive things. I want to thank each and every one for the time listening, and also to ask for questions. And should be able to respond to as many things at this stage. Just before that, I would love to also, with the permission of the chapter, ask for Mike to maybe say a few words. Is that possible? Or we'll just wait for question and answer session. Please, we need to hear from you. I think it's one of your projects.
Yeah. The chairman and the president of NEPL and also the chairman of the Abuja chapter, the presenter, colleagues. This is really, an interesting presentation. For me, I personally feel happy and fulfilled. Being one of the projects that some of us initiated while we were in service, we are happy that it's yielding results. I remember, in various platforms, NNPC Limited, I'm not there, but I'm an ex-NNPC, I've been accused of getting information. But I think there is a process to follow, which NNPC has rendered, and now the information has started coming out. And I believe I will not speak, on behalf of NNPC. NNPC will say what they plan to do, but I believe with this information coming out into the public, I believe more of such information are going to come out in the future. People need to be patient. There is a process. Once the process is followed, people will have this information. And people know that a lot of resources, both human and material, have been expended in this. So the first consumer definitely is NEPL and NNPC Limited. They have to consume and make sure that, yes, they understand the data and also interpret it correctly before coming out into the public. I believe, Doctor, you guys are going to come out with more of such presentation for the public to know. But as regards to Bida Basin, really, the chairman has summarized everything, then the presenter has said everything. But I believe that a lot of people may be interested in one aspect of this thing or the other. And I'm very, very happy when the presenter concluded by saying that to move this exploration forward, there is need for collaboration with the academia, with private consultants, and everybody who show interest to move this, knowledge to the next level. With that, I will say thank you, well done. The presentation really was apt and quite good, and listening to the question and answer. Thank you very much.
On the presence, data coordinator, take questions.
Okay, question yes. If you have questions, please we'll start with the 8 hands. Your hands up, I'll take the first 3. 1, 2. Do I have a third one? Then 3. And then we go online. So I'll give you the mic, you ask the question. Please, let's straight up to the point. No beating around the bush. We agree? Okay. You please tell us your name and your affiliation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is I'm Johnny Good Energy. Thank you, the IT. That was a brilliant presentation. Two things came to mind. I saw that you mentioned the use of geochemistry, but in passing or very safe. I think it'd be interesting for us to know what the source of characterization in that area, because once the source is absent or not to be, then our exploration for petroleum in that area hits the billion now. Then on the part of fault reactivation, so I would like to hear from you to the source of characterization, especially in terms of chemistry. Then on the fault reactivation parts, with my initial knowledge in fault analysis, are we seeing that there is a potential sealing problem in that area because we are still talking of petroleum sustainability in this place, and that affecting petroleum prospectivity in that place? Are we looking at the possibility of that? Because most times when we speak about fault reactivation, we begin to think of the sealing problem, kind of. So I would like to get responses to that to help us better understand what's going on in that place. Then finally, when you spoke about the basin model, I think it's something that's very important to the 3D 1D basin model will help us to better understand what's going on in that place. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Atomiti, and thank you very much, Dr. Adamu, for a nice presentation. I'm a geophysicist by profession, seismic data processing, to be precise. I want to talk more into the new technology that you use, as in full tensor gravity gradiometry that you use, and it's a very nice stuff compared to the 2D seismic that you use. And based on past experience that you have two major geophysical prospects in the reconnaissance studies, that is gravity and magnetic. So I want to ask if you have any correlation questions and motivated approach, motivate FT G with seismic, ultimately you have any magnetic magnetic stuff that also align with the trend given by the map that you have shown from the FTD and the seismic. Do you have anything on magnetic to ask correlation and invest to add more? So thank you very much.
My name is Omar Umar, 300 students at American University. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very enlightening, actually. As a student, actually, made a question from the explanation of the presentation, and it's more enlightening with regards to explanation. When we explain the mini basins, the main mention the uplifts. The uplifts that occur within the mini basin, which actually affected the trapping mechanisms, or which may have affected the trapping mechanism, because if they were uplifts, it actually changed the temperature when the uplift occur. So does that affect if petroleum or hydrocarbon were to be found, does that affect the hydrocarbon when it comes to commercial quantity or generally? That's the question. Right?
All right, we'll take this first stream before we go to online question.
Okay, thank you very much. You have very, very useful and relevant questions. So I will take them in the order as they came. So concerning social triangulation. Yes, in that workflow, show the so we apply FTG and they we believe the most representative regions within any given basin and it's in any part in this discussion as to do and inside this opinion and giving. So there are samples, we have our four questionnaires, the questionnaires that have been connected, and they have high TOC. Some of them we are looking at even more than 10 yes, so high TOC. But what I want you to note is all of the outputs that we have studied so far, be it geochem, be it sedimentological biostructure, we have studied it, were all within that less Cretaceous flat laying cellular formations. None of them was from the main unknown to date. Okay, we do not know what is that optimal, but we could do the reconstruction based on analysis because we have Bida Basin extra. We have a Gongola surfacing, we have penetrate, we have drilled into them and have all of that. So that whatever source of characterization we have to base on the prospective identified perspectives of the Bida Basin is subject to change once we get any sample of any source from those three basins. Okay, so that just the difference. So in terms of both reactivation and seeded mechanisms, remember I made mention of two major compression effects. Mid-Cretaceous Santonian that resulted in the exhumation of significant part of this basin. That's number one. And then the last uplift or inversion after the deposition of the younger upper Cretaceous. All your, Bida formation, the Sagging formation, the Sagging, and that has all of them, those and those southern. Those are what constitutes the iron to the astriation station of the flat lay. Okay? So after the deposition of this, there was the last phase, that was the activation. So the first, let me talk about the first. The first inversion was what actually formed those flower structures in soil. So the trapping mechanism, the primary trapping mechanism was formed by that first mid-Cretaceous Santonian compression. And that's the only thing we can do now. Somebody can ask, what is the constraint? How are you able to know this? But Santonian compression is well documented, established episode across the entire Africa, so we can attribute it to that. So that was the initial compression that forms our primary target trapping mechanism, the flower structure and the body structures. Now, the second reactivation was very selective. If you look at those flower structures or crop structures that were reactivated, they were not reactivated at the late Cretaceous events. Only the major bounding faults, the red ones, that was the ones that were reactivated up to the last flat laying formation. So any structure you have along those major faults could be breached. Remember, this is intracretonic base. So you have insignificant shell provision. And that is why we always report high volume of hydrocarbon discovery in our applications with an equal mine in particular. Because sandstone is no problem. Right? Look at the data, look at the data formation stuff, right? You have a lot of sand units and formations, very thick, but the shell is minimal. So that sealing mechanism, as referred to the shell, probably at the top of those new basins, that's the mid-Cretaceous situation, we have some barriers that can provide the sealing mechanism. And when you have them, one good thing about this, they are naturally extensive and thick. How do I mean? I give you an example of Bida formation. Bida sits directly on the other formation. Then keep down, you have the Bida. When you move into Bida is off to about more than 5,000 feet of marine shell. Very thick and laterally extensive. High efficacy cell. That integrity is number one. So we may have such in these basins sitting on top of what could be continental sandstone down there, and then irrespective of the activation you can have, as long as you have a well-formed but if that structure is fault dependent, and then with the reactivation left Cretaceous, then we have problem of probable breaching, and also we are not sure to the fault deformation to damage zone, then you can have leakages. That's the final point we can reach my presentation with the unconformity itself. Depending on what is sitting on top of what is overlaying. If you have a shell overlaying that unconformity, because it's can provide the pattern sealing mechanism. All those units that are thinking that way, if the rebellion of the probably impossible effective source rock in the lower Cretaceous was deep enough, then you could have a kind of probably late Cretaceous regeneration and expulsion, and those Santonian form tracks which are all that be charged. And even if they are even against that unconformity, if it is sealing, then we can still get something out of it. But like I said before, we need to do something based model. The other question, we have 2D sites, and that was what I submitted. Our person submitted to the management that we need to do full-scale basin modeling. Reconstruct this basin model, model the basin, look at the possible, the kitchen itself, map out the migratory areas and which are, target or identified track that might be charged. So with the 2D, we can even use the 2D and do 2D basin model so that we can exactly, with the confidence pinpoint where we expect the source from, and then we could see how it will go and charge in the farm throughout the process, right? So how that answers gravity. Very, very. So you know why? Do you see those two what look like mini bases? I showed you at the beginning, I showed you the velocity and the velocity. So that is where magnetic comes in. If you have magnetic data, we can clearly show you, look, this is not a gravity low associated with high sedimentary or rain, but rather based on geometry, and that's exactly what happens. So if all of the activities that we acquire, they are listed on the 2 meter attached to the aircraft. Did you see that video? When so that was the 2 meter was so the interpretation is actually done side by side. Else you can easily be the same by heterogeneity in that. Ability and inversion. Yes, ability and inversion. So like I mentioned, like 2 phases of the ability, the initial, the mid, Cretaceous, and the lens. Okay? So all of these are important because they create our tracking mechanisms. All of the discoveries until you to date in Bida Basin, in Tami Basin, Niger, all of them, they are all related to structural tracks to date. We may have some stratigraphic related tracking mechanisms, but we have to see that, but we are still exploring. It doesn't happen. So, irrespective of the reactivation, if we have high integrity, still thick, and when naturally extensive, accommodates any activation because of the action, only one concern we should be for. If you look at the benefits of this mechanism, two pillars. When you look at kind of structuration in the traffic structures we have clients, lines compared to what is available, what is available, you see that one huge structure that you can drive actually for hours, within one single and decline 3 hours. This has 1 hour. But again, you can't rule out, especially if you want all the it's very shallow. That's currently NNPC Chinese National Petroleum Company are producing and we have from that very shallow basin. Why? Because in the immediate regions, very rich in extraction and generating hydrocarbon. And these hydrocarbons migrate into weathered basement. Imagine, very unconventional reservoir. Shallow EPC, if you may not even have access, but they are producing. So that's why we need to do more to find explore the carbon share of the deep basin, navigate enough basins.
Okay, very comfortable. There are a whole lot of questions coming online, people. There are a whole lot of questions on the online stuff. Okay, good. Okay, just so that you know, the likes of Professor Larry are online. Just a minute. Professor Sophie are all online. So there are a whole lot of big heads online listening to you, sending a whole lot of comments, congratulations, asking for collaborations with the professional chair of NNPC alongside with the academia and all that. So Dr. Suleiman, you have a big fish to fry in your hand after this. I'm sure a whole lot of questions will be directed to you. But quickly, now from Jeremy, he's asking the FTG assisted fault interpretation. With the FTG, how do you estimate the particle separation faults? Now from also from Alexander Oshodi, what is the comparison between the present day sediment thickness in the post and in the pre-Santonian of the Bida Basin and the Benue Trough? I don't know if that person is correct. From the same person, are there any major difference in the segment thickness or are they similar? He further asks, please, what is the best mirror? It's a question that you have answered on, but just to ask so much. Now, this is a whole lot of congratulations, right? Now, it would be great, this is from Hagia Sabina to Mohammed, right? It would be great to know the similarity. Okay. It would be great if similar equipment can be introduced to explore deep-seated minerals. Does that make sense to you? Should I stop here or should I continue? For this side, it's okay. Then I take the next step.
Okay, so the first question is on flow measurements using the FTG. So if you know the FTG data is high resolution, you could actually have your data basins. Okay? So you can compute the data basins. You should be able to calculate when you have the high gravity and the low gravity. It just makes a lot of comparisons. So once you are able to have that, then you are better calculation with the top region and take the analysis and estimates. And then with that conversion, you will be able to know how much flow impact. And that will be when you can have its horizon and generate what happens with high confidence. You can imagine how much money it's saved, right? Because the acquired 3D section, you need 3D section to PTR faults with high confidence to put in the polygons, to find the orientation, the flow mechanism. but you are able to get to the empty. So this is how you are able to do this high gravity, low gravity, see what growing up. So that's how the modeling is done. In terms of sediment thickness, what we are giving now again, remember is to me, so we cannot do volumes in terms of all of that. So what we are able to see is the comparison between the pre-Santorini, the initial pre-stage and size of these new basins, to the present day after the Santorini and the Adamu electrifications. The mini basins have shrunk to only almost 1/3 of their original size. 1/3. And you can see when you look at these seismostratigraphic functions within the mini basins, you could imagine how much you need to go along and extend that basin to accommodate the complete flow of the sedimentary cessation in those reflections. So much has been exhumed, and this is what we are able to conclude for now in terms of how much cessation we are seeing in these new basins. Bida and Bida Basin, big difference. Go to Bida, I wish I had one original line from the Bida. We could see reflections of 6 seconds. Thinking about like 6 kilometers, there's one convection out there. But here you are seeing reflections close around maximum 2.5 and 3. So it's a big difference. The Bida is much deeper, much bigger, and it could be that the Bida Basin was also much bigger now than I said before. It was much bigger, but the level of compression has been up, and that's what we have. And look at the orientation of the Bida. So you have northeast southwest orientation, and for the Bida Basin, you have northwest southeast orientation. So from northeast southwest orientation to northwest southeast orientation, complete change, right? And what we have seen in terms of plate boundary and plate interior geodynamics, fault orientation, there's a significant role in terms of the initial rating, how much rating. It depends on how that fault is oriented to the stress field, and even for the compression, right? If you have it at normal to the stress field, then you have maximum activity. It's receiving all of that velocity at 2 force that is then you have all the angle more cessation all the so there is a big difference between the two. But what we are seeing, they are all genetic links. We are looking at cretaceous basins. Of course, there will be some peculiarities in terms of changes and differences in the cultural environment between the two. The fourth question is on the use of FTG for mineral exploration. Currently, as I'm talking to you, let me explore it still on. NGS is deploying a similar technology nationwide to explore for videos. And even in the video clip, you could see they show something like a geophysical. So you can use FTG to identify and locate geophysical deposits. But even so what you just need to compare the costs. Right? Here we are using it to find the geometry units and identify our transfer. Probably you didn't start just exploring for that one. So it's all about the commercial, but yes, you can use it to explore for mineral deposits and even delineating salt areas like Gulf of Mexico, you need to identify and create salt areas. So, first, that's to know. How the business size?
I'm sure you did justice to that, but it's this is from the online audience. All right, so I'll take 2 more sets. Now from Bida, he said it looks like there are 2 sets of gravity, meaning resonance orientation. One in the northeast southeast, no, one in the northwest southeast orientation, and another in octagonal northeast southwest. Could there be a strike slip movement? Okay, orientation. Could strike slip movement be responsible for that? Because there's a similarity between the structural orientation in the Abuja basin. I don't know that makes sense. This one. All right. Let's take the next one. Oh, you want to answer this first? From Lukman, I'm of the view that a collaboration with the NNPC chair, professorial chair consulting, and the academia will shed more and give a better and wider understanding of Tectono-Stratigraphic evolution of the basin and probably reconstruction of paleography. This is for you to tell. I'm not sure it's the first thing though. Dr. Adamu mentioned that STG assisted for the investigation with the STG. How do you think taking that and just take this simple answer?
I'm very happy with these questions because this is a platform that can be navigated from the international. So in terms of all of our basins, right? So if you look at it regionally, I'm taking the question probably from South India. So in all of our basins, if you look at their formation relating to South Atlantic opening and the continuous reactivation of the major oceanic fracture zones, St. Paul, 15 Saints, all of those major oceanic fracture zones. So the dissipation of the energy from the plate boundary along these major oceanic fracture zones into these intracratonic, rift spaces So that deep and lower application is this one we are looking for, and it's active, it's proven in online, it's what we are actually working on. It's now. Injections. So that it's how business is. Yeah, you can add as many. My manager is still yes.
And then we're going to take the next item. We'll collect the questions and then we'll pass them on to you. And then you answer them. And then we'll take share as newsletters like we always do.
Just want to appreciate all those our predecessors currently online that are not able to see their beautiful faces to be really appreciative of our size, and we look forward to more collaboration. And our bills are highly open, like just my imagination. We will continue to collaborate with you. Really appreciate your participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, Adamu, oh, you're also trying. When the sun is up this morning, but this is in at last. So we're happy to have you there. And that appreciates its participation. Thank you. I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And also say we appreciate.
Yeah, sir.
I don't know if the president is still online, because we want you to get a report of thanks. Yes. So.
That's perfect.
Thank you very much. We want to thank the president of NNPC, FNAP, president of NAP, to just give us a lot of thanks. After that, we just take announcements and go forward to the president.
Yeah, I'm raising. I'm asking the comments.
President. NNPC.
They can hear us.
Okay, while we're waiting for him, maybe we can just go ahead with the announcements.
President, can
All right, good afternoon, everybody. So we can just go ahead with the announcements. The monthly presentation we just listened to, the NAPI technical presentation. It's on. This technical meeting is really sponsored by the NAPI Abuja chapter. And the topic we just listened to is a new insight into the Bida Basin and Tectono-Stratigraphic architecture by Dr. Adamu Suleiman. So we'll just go straight into the announcements. We have coming in, I think next week and in September, we have the NAPI and the NMGS mini conference. And the theme is retooling geoscience education in Nigeria, the current trend and emerging
reality. And that's coming up on the 6th to 9th of September. Right, next. Okay, yeah, it's holding I think the University of Lagos. Yeah, University of Lagos. So this is a partnership between NGS and also public. And just to remind us of this year's the 41st NEPL International Conference and Exhibition. The term is repositioning the oil and gas industry for future energy dynamics. Let's be reminded, it's coming up on the 12th to 16 November 2023 at the Echo Hotel and Suites. For early birds this year, we have the NEPL membership registration, 60,000 naira for members, non-members 70,000 naira. For lecturers and also institutes, you pay 30,000 naira for early birds. But now the early bird period is between January to 16th of August. After 16th of August, you'll be expected to pay for NEPL members 70,000 naira, for non-members 80,000 naira. For lecturers and institutes, you're expected to pay about 40,000 naira. For student membership, early bird student membership, you are expected to pay. I think I need to verify that. All right, so next slide, please. So we have a call for abstracts still on, and the deadline is on the 31st of July this year. So we have presentation, oral presentations, and poster presentation abstracts. Please put in your abstracts as soon as possible. Next. Now we are all advised to pay our dues as members. For those of us that are members of NEPL, please be up to date, pay your dues. For student membership, you have 2,000 naira monthly, annual dues. For the active members, 12,000 naira. For the associate members, 12,000 naira, and corporate membership, we pay 50,000 naira. It is a very vital responsibility for every member. So try as much as possible to be financially up to date. Please are encouraged to do that. And so if you want to pay your dues, you have on the screen the NEPL account details, the UBA, or you can contact the phone number, or you go to the NEPL website and you can make an online payment.
Recording in progress.
For this year's international conference and exhibition, we have the various awards that will be given. We have the Aaron Adams Awards, the Ben Suno Award, the NEPL Fellowship Award, the NEPL Honorary Membership Award, the NEPL Young Professional Awards, and the Noella Award. So these are the awards that will be going out during the conference this year. Next slide. And so there's the NEPL Young Professional Technical Capacity Building Program coming up sometime in July, I think on the 7th to 8th of July. It is virtual. The topic is risk analysis and volumetry of oil and gas industry, essential for the young professionals. So all interested in this program, you can register through the link. It's virtual and you make your payments. The deadline for the payments is on the 8th of July, 2002. Just to mention, we have the Energy Week coming up from the 9th to the 13th of July. For those of us that are interested, please make plans to attend. Next slide. We also have the African conference coming up from 20th to 21st of September at the Kia Oval in London. So if you're interested, make plans to attend. Next slide. Just to mention that we have opportunities open for companies, individuals to partner with the NAPE chapter to sponsor our technical meeting. It's an opportunity to leverage the NAPE platform and to showcase the strength of your company, the technical strength of your company, and also to reach out to various members of the association. So we encourage that you come up to sponsor our technical meetings. All right, so next slide. All right, we'll make mention of the this year's International Conference and Exhibition. So please make plans to be part of that event. So at this point, I will just to take us further to the meeting, we'll call on the president for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, everyone. The president is not available right now. But once we just say thank you to everyone who has attended this meeting. We also want to say thank you to our speaker, to the chairman, and also to the board for coming. I will also wish you all very nice stay at home and the station, and also let's have a wonderful Salah celebration. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, everybody.